All right. Well, it was an appearance on the main broadcast that was definitely anticipated, and CUB Academy not going to disappoint, taking the first win in this series 13-9 over CUB Esports. Dan, looking back at the match, I mean, things were pretty close at first, but CUB Academy, once they got warmed up, they were not letting go of that game whatsoever.
Yeah, it was really close, and part of it was towards the beginning on that first half. Verbs was going insane, had so many of those multi kills, and I mean, I think everything that I see right at the beginning is going to be about him on this Yoru, and obviously with the Yoru and the Raze, that was one of the main topic of conversation that we had, this head-to-head between the two duelists and how they were going to perform, and they ended up doing so much better on that defensive side. But when we went and it was time for Redux to do the same thing, it was a CUB Academy that had so many cool set plays. We saw a couple of them around tower, kind of baiting each other, getting those trades, and a Redux that even got an ace at that point.
Yeah, and we did talk a lot about, you know, CUB needing to resolve their defense sides, right? And it really felt like they did going into this matchup. Their defense looked much cleaner. They looked a lot more controlled. They looked a lot more cohesive, especially when it came to the mid-round reactions, especially when it came to the retakes. And there's this one specific round that comes to mind where they had this really sick retake, and it really just kind of just shows a level of sort of the, you know, effort that they're working towards.
Yeah, one more point on that one as well is, like, you're saying, yeah, they needed to work on that defense. It has to feel good when you win, what, like 9 rounds in a row? And we continue to see this right now, and Challengers is just teams that grab that momentum, and it's impossible to stop it. We saw it yesterday, we continue to see it today, and it's a CUB Academy that now is proving to be exactly that team. We talked about that comeback that they had last week. It was exactly the same thing to get away with it, and you can tell that they worked in it. So many of those rounds, it was also Knights, that Cypher, left alone on that A side, everybody just having those very quick rotations and making it work that way.
I love that call out to their match last week versus Ambrosia, because yeah, same thing with winning all of the rounds in a row. So a team that, once they get warmed up, is absolutely deadly. And we already talked about the duelists, we'll talk about them a bit more, but a lot of other really key pieces being able to shine there. Scuba and Nismo were two people, Roy, that we talked about a lot beforehand, and geez, did they step up to the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many moments, and again, we were talking about this, right? It's like, this is the kind of things that we can expect from the CUB Academy side, is they have these players that can come huge whenever they're in deficits, whenever they need a sort of heroic play. They have these players that can pop off whenever they want, and Scuba did that multiple times. So many rounds where they were down 2-3 players, he's walking through smokes, killing 1, killing 2. That's massive, right? You have Nismo also supporting, trading his teammates, getting 3 kills from people flooding through smokes. Like, I mean, what more could you possibly need from your supportive cast role? Like, it's quite insane.
And when your supportive cast is doing that sort of stuff, well, then as a duelist, your job is just infinitely times easier. And we got to see duelists really step up in the series. But of course, history is written from the victor, so we have to talk about Redux, because Redux, he has been the main talking point of this team. And Dan, maybe a little slow to be starting on the map as well, but as soon as we got that side swap, I mean, this kid could do no wrong.
Yeah, a little bit slowed down, as you said, towards the beginning on that attacking side. And it was not that he was performing bad. It was just the team and the back and forth between the two teams that didn't really make it that easy. But it seems like he got that one ace.
Yeah, round 12,
clutching
right?
the round, and that's when you see the comeback. That's when you start to see Redux again, the Redux that we know and love every single time, because he does this constantly, and it's a player that is so consistent for this reason. He's not going to have a bad game that you never see him on. He's trying to find different ways, and the team is also setting him up for success. Again, towards this area, towards tower, towards arcade, you see him just hiding in the corner, waiting for the flashes, waiting for that setup to come in, and getting away with it.
It was a confidence too that I absolutely love. Saying confidence, it was literally just thinking of that exact little jump there, but it's Redux that looks like he's having fun, and a dangerous one to be going up against during the rest of this series. But before we start talking about the next map, Roy, I know there was one round in particular you wanted to look back at just a little bit more, pulling up round 20.
Yeah, the retake for round 20 is the exact example of what we're talking about. It encapsulates everything we've been sort of discussing, right? So they end up going towards the A site.
Little drum roll.
Little drum roll happens.
They're pulling up.
Trust me. Yep, they're pulling up slowly. So they use it. By the way, keep in mind this round started with almost every single ultimate in play. So there's so many layers to this, right? They use the Brim ult to set up the first stall. That allows all the players to rotate over. You can see CUB Academy, they're starting to group up towards their spawn. They immediately rip the KO ult. That denies all of the counter ults to come out. It denies any opportunities for SAD Esports to do anything. And that comboed with the breach ult, with that utility just kind of bombarding the site, there really just was no opportunity, no chance for SAD Esports to fight back. And this is what we expect from this team, right? This level of consistency, this cohesion, this team play that comes out from them. An almost clean sweep in what was a 10 ult round, having 3 players alive as well as retaking the site. I mean, that goes to show everything that we've been talking about, and it's exactly what we need from them if they want to be contesting into a top slot heading into playoffs.
I mean, a CUB Academy that just ramped up during the rest of the series. Now we have to start talking about the map too, which is going to look familiar in terms of how they're able to play it out, a map that they played last week. We have to look at Pearl. This is where they managed to get that, Dan, what was it, 1.5 million rounds in a row after having a pretty close game. They're able to make that comeback from 3-11. So feeling confident in picking it up today.
And it might be one of those cases too where we're talking about, okay, what are they going to do on the defense? How much have they worked on that defense where they only got 3 rounds on the first half? But it's already a first map of Fracture that gave us good indications of a little bit of the work that they put in the past week or so. So for CUB Academy, I think they can close this too on the map of Pearl.
All right. I mean, when we're looking at a team that's looking as strong as they are, I mean, it's definitely looking strong for them. Roy, over onto the opposing end, because I know that you predicted the other way there.
Yeah.
And now that we had SAD drop their map pick, how are you feeling?
I'm still feeling pretty good as long as Ferbsa does what he did in that first map, but keeps it rolling all the way to the end. I think they're chilling. But I think the one thing that we have to keep in mind is the fact that SAD Esports hasn't really shown their pearl in VCL so far. The last time they played it was on January 17th. It was against a team called Frog Squad. They ran a certain composition, but that was over 2.5 weeks ago. So they've had ample time to change composition or change the way they're approaching the map, or kind of just change their entire game plan so that they're not easily readable. Whereas CUB Academy, there's very recent footage from them from the previous week. So I mean, there's a bit of a kind of an anti-shred advantage going into the second map.
But at the same time, I wouldn't really be surprised if we keep seeing the same composition for SAD. We saw that Neon being played out yesterday. There's some teams that are still opting for this Neon, and it's kind of one of those questions that I have. Are we implementing new things to this Neon, or is it just going to be that wall to go into that B side and just continuing to have that mid presence? I see a world where SAD is going to keep the same composition, and I'm not mad because I like seeing the Neon. I like seeing Ferbsa on it too.
I mean, especially with the impact Ferbsa made early in that last game, if he's doing the same thing on the Neon, this could definitely make things tricky for CUB Academy. But it's time to head into our agent select to see if SAD Esports are in fact going to be sticking with what they showed just a couple of weeks ago, or if they are going to make a little bit of a change heading into today's series. The drum roll yet again across the board, and it's not going to be a Neon, instead Ferbsa with the Jet.
Yeah, it's going to be the change, but something that I want to talk about really quickly too is one that we get to see Vice on both sides. I've been waiting for this moment. We don't really get it that often, but I think Roy, you've been talking about it as well on social media. Vice is so broken. It's such a good agent for this map.
Yeah, she's amazing, and I'm looking to see what kind of setups they have going into this to kind of stall out.
I mean, I'm looking too at the, going back to that Tejo difference, Nismo, who was crushing it on the KO, off of that, onto the Tejo, but then on the opposing end, we get to see Zerona picking up the KO instead. So it's kind of like a little bit of an inverse there. There's so much to dive into, but that's not going to be for us. Instead, it's time to get into Pearl and head back over to your casters, Marks and Tenric. Take it away, guys.
Wait, we have to talk about the game now?
Oh boy, strap in, everyone.
Oh God, sorry. But hey, there is a lot to talk about, and yeah, that double Vice sticks out to me like a sore thumb, doesn't it, Marks? Absolutely broken setups with this agent on both sides, but mainly that A side able to just completely shut it down. That shear has been such an important tool, not just for defensive teams in holding down and slicing a push in half, but also for offensive teams for playing that mental battle of where the push is truly going and becoming just a little bit stealthier after triggering said shear. And I mean, there are a couple other pieces of util that agent happens to have that also are just as influential, but the game is about to start.
Yeah, and once again, like talking about the Vise, so many different teams have been trying to just build this into the roster. And honestly, it feels like that's kind of the heralding of a new meta coming into this, especially with the Tejo and the Vise coming in. A lot of teams at that tier 1 level are starting to run this. So, you know, a lot to see whether or not we can see some new niftier ideas coming out of Challengers, because this is kind of that like think hub, if you will, of trying out different strategies with all these different agents to really see what kind of sticks.
Oh yes, we are merely watching 10 lab rats try to be aim gods, and the way the world of Valorant works will forever shift based off of the research us mad scientists get to watch here on Pearl as CUB Academy start their apparently blasphemously strong attack up this B lane. Gonna be Scuba on top of these Astra smokes that again he's just been pushing to hell and back. Is that a raw salvo kill? On the Benji? That is rough, man. Great start for Qbert here. As Knights has been caught out on the door. Oh, peripherals, buddy. Not just on the desk, but in your vision, too. Sad, luckily, are able to stay face at least a little bit on the front lines, but it's left down to a 3v3 that the entirety of Zad is not here for. Zorona, though, able to hold his own a decent bit of time. The KO-Teo matchup has been really solid between these two initiators already, but it looks like Nismo will make about as heavy of an impact as he will fall next. Redux now on the far angle. T-Dog the close. Leads to a 1v1 now after Tuzi gets the trade. Redux will win the swing war. And who else do you want left standing in your opening round of the game?
Man, it's like these two teams just went to the scrapyard and picked up their pistols that only kind of worked a little bit and then just started smacking each other with them. There was such like a weird 1v1 scenario on all different parts of the map there. Just looking the wrong way, getting caught in the weirdest positions. And honestly, it wasn't even really down to any utility, any flashes or any smokes. It was just kind of these dry peaks of swinging angles and taking those fights. So CUB Academy, we've talked about it on that last map, tend to be just better aimers. Already the salvo is going to get expended here to prevent Sad from being able to push out, but that's not going to deter them just quite yet. Recon Dart ready to go, and now the swing comes through.
Yeah, they still want to get ahead of this. Redux a quick shutdown, and Qbert will make mincemeat out of this attempt from Sad Esports. To be expected with a fight like this, but some chip damage done along the way, and Redux will doubtfully enter with a swath of Qbert players to take that health pool for him. Still one down, but that's all Sad will get. Qbert up 2-0.
Yeah, at that point, Sad, they more or less just pushed into a blender of bullets and utility, just completely melting any health that any of their members had there. So just, you know, sometimes the gamble stack works, sometimes it doesn't. And CUB Academy, we've talked about this already, but extremely good on their Pearl attack. We were treated to that when they went up against Ambrosia, and they staged that nifty 9-3 comeback. They only lost 2 rounds against Ambrosia when they were on the attack side. And Sad were actually the ones who wanted to start on the defense. So we need to start to see Sad Esports start to pull up their pants a little bit more and be a bit better discipline-wise. Qbert, though, they've invested in their rifles onto this round, so they definitely want to continue that advantage forwards. But as Sad decide to creep up here, a little bit of reposition from Qbert. As Sad, they're gaining map control, but not finding any of the agents.
Scuba going to get ahead of this sheer now. The drone is cleared past the door for it. Force Sad to realign a little bit towards mid, where Qbert have taken the fight too. And this is where they'd love to hold it down. Bonus mid fights are so much stronger for the aggressors, which is why we're still looking into art. We're still holding this with 2. T-Dog and Scuba continuing to very slowly clear as Qbert continue to weigh their options, but this one looks to be the one with the most potential. That's why you see the A-main push coming in too. The knife is going to suss out 2 members though. And so we might have to reset all over again. Sad are going to converge on this. They might want to take the door fight now, and that's the perfect moment. Gun spotted. T-Dog and Scuba looking for more, but it's a 1v1 trade, in fact, that Qbert walk away from a little bit disappointed. Redux attempted push into Vice util, but Knights falls on the other side, so you can't do it both ways. Redux now attempt number 2 on the push, but Tuzi is present, and the flash will continue to stall him out. Qbert on site. What can they do? Nismo good for 2, and that might be the only breakthrough they need. Just enough time to get the spike down and just enough space to Qbert head back to lane. And with no smokes in tow, they can hold wherever they please. Zorona, knife available. We'll want to split this board of defense on the spike, along with a molly, potentially suss out that lane presence beyond the column. That's why you see Zerona dry swinging all of these angles in Plaza. You can guarantee that one sight line he's got to focus. Salvo for the first fight. Zerona steps in front of it, and Nismo will shut it down. Another bonus goes the way of Hubert.
Oh, it's so annoying to try and push into that one. Take that 1v2 against, you know, the Astra and the Tejo. Two excellent stalling agents on that post-plant position. But SAD are trying to come up with a couple of niftier ideas. That wraparound there actually was supposed to catch the enemy off guard, and quite frankly, you see them buddied up here. They're expecting to go for those trades, and unfortunately, we're seeing multi-kills come out of the different members of CUB Academy. We talk about the raw firepower, the raw talent that these members are bringing in, and it's in moments like those that they're starting to shine. This time around, CUB going for a bit more of a quick attack, but Dip's Recon Bolt spots out quite a bit of information. We're seeing those SAD. They're going in once again, putting heavy pressure onto this middle side, trying to catch a weird angle onto some of the members of CUB Academy, assuming that they are there to be able to rescue one of those rifles and turn this round around. But full mid control now taken by SAD as CUB. They're doing the rotation back around.
NG's flash was able to alert them to the presence on the B site, but Knights was able to catch that lurk, and now there's more members. Tuzi wasn't prepared. That cuts deep into SAD's reserves. Okay.
I didn't know we could do that.
I didn't know it landed there either. That's fun. We'll waltz right into B site, pretty undeterred. This will be quite the lock of a round for CUB Academy. Nothing that SAD really has to offer except the fun flank angle, but now that's all they've got. Zerona, unfortunately, nothing connecting, and Dip has no doubt been found out by now. Indeed.
Yep.
Redux, yeah, stick another one on the board, dude. Why don't you? 4 standing. For now, a 4-0 lead from CUB. This attack looking just as strong as it did last time.
You know, from the front.
And it really feels like after these last 4 rounds, the playbook of SAD is keep ourselves dynamic, like water, flow throughout the map, and then we'll catch them on a weird off angle and we'll be able to get a kill. Except at this point, I feel like CUB Academy just have that strategy memorized. They're so ready for all of these weird flanks. They're just moving in, finding no difficulties whatsoever, understanding that SAD might be trying to play on these weird lanes or weird angles and stuff like that. And so then they simply just turn around and they point their rifles back and find the kills that they need. It's an excellent job from CUB thus far. But now SAD, they do have their rifles yet again. They need to get out of this dip, because if they continue to lose these rounds, then they lose all their weaponry yet again. Ferbs are trying to be a little bit more aggressive, but all this utility is going to force that operator back.
You can see every member of SAD trying to suss out where the minority in the defaulting is for CUB Academy, but they've already ascended past the default. They're already fully past Plaza door, and Ferbsa is about to get fully overwhelmed on this operator. Astra or no in tow. Knights has got him locked down with the help of that Rolling Thunder, and the site is yet again CUB Academy's. Now 3 rifles to try and counteract it. Redux still somehow standing with 30 health points in the pool as well. Everybody from this team ready to go, and a Razorvine to stall out Benji as well. SAD ready for the retake, but so much that CUB still has to offer into the equation. Dip does find the off angle off of the Plaza to catch 1, but that is all he will catch. And so SAD still walk in with such bad disadvantage. Redux just flinging some knives into the ether for good measure. Why not at that stage? CUB overwhelm yet again, 5 rounds strong.
The story of SAD Esports utility was disruption, right? Like that's what we talked about on the first half of the last map. They want to use their utility. They want to disrupt CUB. Then they are able to find the kills. CUB, on the other hand, they're like, we're using our utility to find our kills. It's very aggressive, very forwards, very much looking for, you know, just pure frag power. And I think that this replay right here purely exemplifies it. They're using it to force people out of their space and then just swing in off of flashes. Everything is done with the purpose of being able to find those kills. And once again, they were already out fragging SAD at first, and so they're going to be able to just continue to do it. Everything is right now playing to CUB Academy's strengths, and SAD have just been having such a hard time to find any opening whatsoever to try and stop this flood.
This is what we were waiting for them to cash out on that fundamental diff that we expected them to have, that everyone, frankly, expected them to have against most of the teams in North America, let alone SAD. Continuing to step up on top of those advantages and just snowball your way to oblivion. That's what makes this team look as strong as it potentially could be. As a unit, as a group, they enter, and as an individual, Redux conquers. CUBR take over A site with one in collateral, dip the one hero rifle, Hero Guardian, that is doing some really solid damage before getting salvoed and smoked away. CUB Esports, 3 people on the retake, not much to offer though.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Not a ton of utility here. Already stunned up as well. Dip just playing through the smokes, but the reinforcements are here. Nismo finds them first.
Tuzi skates past. We'll find a nice headshot onto T-Dog. There's your rotation over the site. Tuzi next extension, a little late, but Redux is able to shut that down, and from there, easy convergence on the one. Continuing to look surgical as can be here is Hubert Academy. I mean, yeah, the set plays for both of these sites pushes are just looking fantastic, and Knights has the Garden again for this next round, so sad. It is really tough to know how to intercept this because you can't full stack early, you can't full stack late.
Yeah, I mean, Hubert Team 6, when they move in for a kill, they're going to be doing it with excellent precision. You see the way that they're playing off of each other, using the utility to really set up those kills. It looks fantastic. It's a great stuff. I'm hoping we can see some of these plays on the replays, but it really is just so well rehearsed, and there's a reason why they are so dominant on this Pearl attack. SAD have just been struggling to do anything on this round besides potentially get a lucky headshot here or there. They're not even really given that much of an opportunity. They're just simply dying to the level of play that CUBR Academy are bringing in on this map. They can't even use the Vise utility, really. I haven't even seen that be showcased on the defense, which is when you would start to expect it come out.
It's true. The most we've seen is maybe a Sheer getting a tripped like 45, 50 seconds in. But that's why we're seeing a lot of early defaulting from Hubert in these earlier rounds to condition that Vise Sheer not really being able to make an impact for whatever push is coming. It'll get stuck down in the plaza door to make sure that there's no crunch. So that makes me believe that SAD want to engage in a lane fight early if that's where Hubert are headed, but the default's going to peak in the mid as well. So who knows how these teams could develop this round. Ferbs is going to jump out early with this Blade Storm and take control of the box here in A main. That will force Knights to slow things down, but if anything, that'll make the rest of Hubert go ahead and speed things up. Just make sure that SAD drains themselves of all of that util they have to offer, and now Knights will engage in the peak. I don't think any knives from Ferbsa landed there, unfortunately. That is really rough. And well taken by Knights. That leaves a very open door here for Hubert.
At the same time, though, I think that was kind of the plan. Use Ferbsa with the knives to make it seem like more of the members of SAD Esports were going to be pushing out of that A side. Meanwhile, we saw the rotation from SAD go on to B. They were well reinforced, but the fact that Ferbsa dies makes it completely wide open. They've spread themselves thin, and actually, SAD, they come out on top with a weird little crossfire.
Yeah, perfect jump out from both Tuzi and Benji. Tuzi out for a third as well in the dry swing to take care of Nismo. So Knights, 1v3. First clutch on camera? Nah, it's not going to be. Benji, nice step out to shut things down and finally get SAD on the board. A tremendous stalwart defense put up by those two guys on SAD over on B side.
I was about to say, this is looking like it might be set up to be a disaster for SAD. As soon as Ferbsa goes down, they immediately pull some of their agents over to that A site because they don't have any more information over there, and they're worried maybe Hubert are going to be attacking. And this is unfortunately what starts it all off, but just the step out there and the spray down, Tuzi finding the perfect angle, and then Benji just being able to swing out as well. Make sure that that cross is going to be covered, and Hubert Academy were simply not expecting it. So SAD finally find themselves on the board.
And SAD will take heed of what worked, even if it didn't fully come through. Now Ferbs has got a friend up A lane. Do they expect this? It looks like they do with that smoke in tow, yeah. They know that SAD want to fight for this A presence, but they don't know how many are here. Meanwhile, that Art Lurk's starting to gain some traction, and Dip is going to have a lot to hold up against. There's that Steel Garden, but it actually doesn't cover Ferbsa, so he's still kicking with this rifle, but now comes the full Lurk from Art, and that is going to completely shut down the push. On top of a Cosmic Divide, so no one from SAD can skirt through the back. It'll be as clean as a whistle. Hubert up 4-3 on the retake, and Dip is right up close and personal with this divide to get things started. SAD will take this fight sooner rather than later, especially with the Cosmic Divide of their own. starting by taking the entirety of the site. Now you just got to deal with the rest. A Steel Garden on top of it will hopefully suffice. Redux with the shorty, though, might not need it. Doesn't land the shots, and he's got to run back away. First Nova, first salvo, first half of the spike taking Tuzi safely on the Cosmic Divide, and it'll force a swing. Good is every member of Qbert, and they are able to hold back the remainder of SAD and get their 7th on the board, despite everything that they brought to that counter push.
And SAD, like, they got a little bit too tunnel visioned outside of A, expecting Qbert to be 5-man pushing A main. Actually, it was that rotation through Art that completely caught them by surprise. Redux got so much space for free, able to navigate in onto that A site and still walk around with a complete flank as well. Ferbsa could have been the difference maker here. It was an interesting idea, playing crisscross with those Cosmic Divides, but fortunately not able to find much. And so a bit of a weird buy coming in from SAD here. Zerona only got that Sheriff in hand. The rest of the members have rifles. SAD are really trying to force the issue because this is going from a bad situation into a much worse one. Yeah. We're seeing a swap around on the defense as well. Ferbsa no longer going to be leading the push out front of A. They're relying on that Vise utility to play more anchored in onto the site. Well, meanwhile, Qbert Academy, they're taking that middle presence. They got away with a murder through Art. And this time around, they might be swinging on to that left side instead. Tuzi just on the other side here might have an opportunity for a spray down.
They want to continue to punish the places they think that SAD may have forgotten or missed. That's why they've planted Redux still on this A main, despite the very full frontal push into full-on CT. This is so brazen. And it does leave Dip a little bit available for one, but that's all he'll get. Rest of A site taken over by Qbert. Benji Shearer will actually get to divert some members of Qbert, but it'll just turn into a 1-for-1 trade as no other member is available. Ferbsa finally skittering on back over, but it's a little too late, unfortunately. 99 times out of 100, and Ferbsa will say, I'll take the 99 and my rifle to go. Thank you very much. Doggy bag in hand, he'll walk back out to lane and give Qbert an 8th.
Yeah, just a clean execution coming in from Qbert. I mean, you saw the idea from SAD, how their defense was going to be working there, and that little stealth drone really just kind of confused them, and it gave them the opportunity to be able to push in right into them, and Qbert Academy just completely overwhelmed the two defenders there. And immediately when that happens and they back their way up, SAD just simply do not have a finger on the pulse of how Qbert Academy are playing these. Nice little flick from Ferbsa. We'll guarantee that the rifle should be able to survive here, but that is the smallest consolation prize that you can find right now. SAD are down 1-8, and it doesn't look like things are going to be getting better for them. This is going to be a tough round. They're not going to be able to buy up weaponry onto this one, and yeah, we're using that second time out. I genuinely wonder whether or not SAD did their homework on Qbert coming into this one. The fact that they picked the defense, especially with how good Qbert Academy looked on their offense. You've got the tape. They talked about this on the desk. You know how good this offense is going to be. You got to be extremely confident in your defense, and we're simply not seeing that right now come out from SAD.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that confidence is like being vied for by SAD. We're seeing those inklings of members stepping out and intercepting, which is what I would imagine how they wanted to approach this defense is meeting Qbert before the fight could even really start, so that util dump is not as directly in your face. It's more like to the side of you. But unfortunately, Qbert have still been too fast, and they've still been too aggressive for SAD to really muster against. And also, I think, like we've been talking about, especially in the very beginning of this game, the mechanics, the fundamentals are just looking so much better for Qbert. So the raw player diff is really shining on this attacking half so far. Qbert's got some aimers, dude. The secret's out.
Yeah, who would have seen that one? I wonder. Genuinely, I feel like in the whole like Challengers split one thing, I want to see Qbert go up against a Rankers, because you know that team is just all aimers as well.
Well,
They're
that's
playing
the thing,
a
is
very
that's what we're
similar
seeing
style.
so many echoes of here from Qbert, is like a death ball push with like relying on players' raw ability, and then, you know, we'll figure out the gelling stuff later. You know how to flash a duelist in, right? Yeah, get in here, man. Sheer is up for this B lane, so somebody's gonna have to proc it. And they will. And so SAD will poke their heads out of the stand momentarily here. very holed up this time. B-site is completely inoccupado. CUBER get an inkling that that's the case. They'll smoke it up. They'll launch their way in head first. Not a care in the world, not a gun on the other side, at least on this site that can stop them. Clean blank.
Yeah, now they've got plenty of time to get themselves set up, plenty of time to get their utility back online. Even if things look dicey, CUBER Academy will have more than enough to be able to deal with this. Recon Bolt is going to be able to at least spot one out. The knife catches quite a few as well. And now SAD are going to be trying to push in to make something happen.
Nismo's ultimate can catch Kuzi up in Plaza. Going to try and fill in those shoes is Benji, but CUBER should have the rest of the site circumvented. Plaza is the only channel in which you'll see SAD coming out of this round, and with just Sheriff in tow, it'll be a swarm of CUBER that launch onto this lone Sentinel. 9-1 here on the attack. And once again, I mean, really nothing to complain about for this attacking half, as it continues to be one of the strongest halves from any team on any map so far this split.
Oh, Tenrek, I'm so curious whether or not we're going to be seeing that 12-1 score, or sorry, 11-1 score line at this point.
The SAD Fnatic us did today? Is that what's going to happen, guys?
If that does, man, that would be absolute insanity. Because we do know that CUBER is a little bit weaker onto their defense, but once again, like, look at this. They're already ready to go. A lot of information given. I don't think that's going to slow down CUBER at all. This time, SAD are reinforcing Art because they don't want people to be pushing them on Art, but I don't know. It just seems so good from CUBER. They're undeterred completely. They're just finding everything that they need and tucking themselves away, just completely flexing on SAD.
Yeah, they don't even need to look at any other position here. They understand how little is here. They understand how much they can connect onto this. The fragment will stop Redux's reign of terror up in Art, but the rest of CUBER's just going to extend onto this. Knights find a stupid shot. Knights finds an easy shot. Knights finds 2 kills to make CUBER turn this round to a triviality. Why don't we hand this guy a couple more? Let this kid get his hands dirty on his first match on stream. I'm so glad that Knights is getting at least a couple moments this match, just because the times that we saw him on Rankers in the previous split in 2024, I mean, he was such a blinding light. You could not ignore him. He refused to be ignored in that series, and he refuses to be ignored in these matches, standing with some of the best of the best. Not necessarily shown in the kill feed as much as he'd like to, I'm sure, but it's also, first of all, an off roll for him. Second of all, a really tough ask of what, you know, they've put him on. Primarily those lurks, primarily those follow-up trades that he's been assigned to. And I think he's done as solid of a job as you can do, just entering a scene like this from him. Again, with the players that you're standing next to, I mean, I would be proud of him.
Like, that's the thing too, right? Like, CUBER Academy, they're put together of like all of these players that people are so familiar with their names by now. And Knight's kind of the new blood. First debuting with Rankers like you talked about. The style is very similar right now. And so Knights just has an opportunity to really just continue to dominate. And right now is tied for top kills alongside Nismo. I mean, the Steel Garden has been online for a little bit, but no opportunity really to use it because Knights simply just kills all of them. So it's an excellent look. And this is going to be the round to determine whether or not CUBER Academy find that 11-1 half. We're seeing already Dip is going to get the Hunter's Fury online. All weaponry potentially bought up from SAD, but it still looks a little bit sad. Haha. That joke hasn't been made 1,000 times.
Nice one, dude.
Thanks, man. I needed that.
I'm going to put that on
CUBER Academy. They're going in, and this is going to be really tough for Benji.
Everybody's in it once. The one Razor Vine is going to massively slow down CUBER's bottom line, which is all of the site, but they're happy with some. Redux sweeps in, sweeps away Benji, and from there, I mean, it's already gatekeeping. Ferbsa will step in and catch Scuba, lacking a little bit overextended, a little bit overheated, mayhaps, I may say. SAD now got their work cut out for him. 2 Guardians in tow, make it 1 as Ferbsa will grab the Vandal. The Steel Garden once again to just force them to stay away, but doesn't catch everybody, so SAD will waltz back in. Redux and T-Dog have the backline locked down though, so that will be just about all she wrote. They're definitely watching this. They don't have util to counteract it, but time is very much nigh. And Dip is very much alone at this point.
Concentrate.
So it will be 11-1 attack here from CUBER, an even better attack half than they had the previous match against Ambrosia. SAD's response needs to be deafening, and it cannot be interception. So where do you go?
This is gonna be really tough for SAD. You ask where do they go? I genuinely don't really know what they're gonna be able to do. At this point, Hubert Academy, they're looking so good. They're playing so confidently. They can be confident in sending one person to go out and just lurk or find a couple of kills on the other side of the map. That's how on fire all of these players are. Meanwhile, SAD, it's almost like a wet blanket on the ground. They haven't been able to find too much value and are just kind of feeling a little stuck. So this pistol round, I mean, obviously is going to be so important. If they can catch some of the members of Hubert Academy overheating just a little bit, might be able to find a foot in the door. But then they really got to pry that thing open if they want to pull back in this map.
T-Dog is that first leg. That SAD will shut down handedly. Knights, understanding the presence, will take a step back here. Let's see how the ubiquity of Vice affects Hubert's defense here. And the first swing out from the back line is good for one. Gives enough time for Redux to extend as well. Good for one for him too, keeping this nice and even at 3. SAD still get the spike down though, just in time for Scuba to make his flank back. A little too late for the shots, and now Tuzi staring him down. Easy headshot on the Ghost. Good start for SAD. Now the shear to prevent Redux from engaging without committing forces to wait for Nismo, who does have some salvos up to make this fight a little more interesting. Gives away the position for it, and so Tuzi quickly shuts that down. It's just going to be Redux who steps out into a world of eyes upon him, and it's a good start for SAD's attack.
This is, so what just happened there, it's a lot more possible to do good trading when everyone's got pistols into their hands. And I think that that was really the difference there, because you see SAD maneuver around the map. They've always got a buddy. They're implementing the buddy hall pass system back from school, and they're going through and making sure that if someone goes down to these insane aimers for Hubert, there's someone else who's going to be around and able to trade off of it. Of course, there are a couple of those instances where we see that just the 1v1 across the map, but I don't know. As soon as Hubert start to get a bit more weaponry, things can really start to fly back around. Hubert going for a complete save this time. Only classics in hands, but they are stacking themselves up. SAD Esports, they've got the better weaponry. Just hoping that they can find the better kills too.
A world in which SAD isn't ready for this. They need to prove it. Dip opening frags, and he's basically the only person peeking for a couple moments there. He can still make it work. So, again, nice shutdown of the fight. Hubert's attempt, all for naught. In fact, everyone's still standing here. Zorona, a little worse for wear, but he's already maximized most of his util. The hard part was done. Now it's just taking care of Scuba, who is already kind of low. Will finish off Zorona, for that matter, but not much more that you could probably do. Indeed, Dip will shut that down swiftly, and SAD we'll get to the meat and potatoes as fast as we want to. 3-11. And now things get interesting. Now things get dire for SAD. Hubert, they have the arsenal. Do they have what it takes to hold it down on this defense?
I'm just going to be clear. I don't think that this is going to be a proper comeback here. But we do know, once again, that Hubert, not that good on the defense, according to the last time that they played here. And the disruptive utility was good. Didn't quite look as good as SAD on that last map. But Hubert Academy, they find a couple of key kills here, really turn things around, and they're already going exploring, making sure to pick up that ultimate orb. They're still playing Honest Valor.
Big flash out here, entrance into the smoke. Redux is going to try and take it over, but fails. Still a 1-for-1, and Nismo is still standing. Stunned, though. Also traded away. SAD minimizing collateral this time. Now T-Dog, the one on the ticket. Benji, perfect swing on the flash. And SAD currently crossing T's, dotting I's, making things look nice and clean. Still not out of the woods, though. 3v2 as Hubert attempt to renegotiate where they'll head to. Scuba's keyboard might have a rock in it.
Hate those darn rocks. Already don't clean my keyboard enough.
All
Imagine
right.
a rock getting in there.
Knights, lock in, dude, I guess. You got a 3v1 here, man. What if Scuba just left and was like, here, give it a try. We have a couple rounds. See what you can do.
30 seconds left.
We don't want this to listen. We had a long tech pause. We gotta get those guys a little bit more Valorant in their pocket, right?
Well, Knights is going to have to fight this by himself. Scuba is a little out of the picture. Oh, he's back. Okay, just as Knights is able to get actually a kill dry with no help and get out completely scot-free. So actually, this is very much doable. Smoke cycle through. Tuzi will have one more available to him. Dip expecting a flank at this point with how inactive Scuba was being.
Nowhere to run.
First tap.
Ooh.
Hunter's Fury for Dip. Good scoping. One more on the tap. Okay, cycle's gone. Now you really engage the fight.
Ooh.
Really hard to engage with this man. Knights is gonna try to, but yeah, just so many ways that Sad can dip in and dip out. No pun intended, of course. 4-11 now for the attackers.
Yeah, and honestly, that just kind of came down to timing a little bit because things were just so uncomfortable with how you were supposed to play it. You don't even have time for Scuba to be able to set up any of the smokes or anything like that. So unfortunately, just a little bit of tech issues making it a bit more difficult for CUB to be able to win that round. And moving into this next one, though, they're still going to have all of the weaponry that they need. They're finding good opportunities to really just shut down some of these Sad players, but I don't know, Sad have been, once again, doing a good job of at least isolating fights and taking a little bit more map control. They really want Nismo to get that Armageddon back online, and that is exactly what they have. And so this is going to be an interesting round from CUB Academy because now you've got that Armageddon tool available. As soon as you hear Sad hit one of these sites, Sad always just biding their time is going to make that time crunch just a little bit more painful for them to be able to move in and get that spike down. And so I need to see Sad be a little bit more proactive. You can't let this utility be the reason why you can't get the spike down clean.
Dip not discouraged by the piece of util that befalls him. Redux going to fill in the gap for that once this drone goes bye-bye. Does this catch him? That was really tight. That was really tight. I don't know how aware Dip is of this, but Redux, I mean, he's going to check it regardless. Or is he? Oh, he's not! Redux for free! That is a tragic angle that the Owl no doubt missed.
Tuzi at least able to take a lot of the space on the mid, spots out the Shearer. This is what's so annoying about the Vice kit. I'm glad that we can actually talk about it now because it's not just CUB rolling over Sad, but it makes it so that you can't fully push in onto the site. Being able to at least secure that first kill is a bit more confidence in moving in. Once Tuzi goes over, that's a committal. And Sad will be able to get the spike down here. It's going to be a 4v4 retake, but keep in mind the Armageddon actually gets used and completely misses.
Oh, the salvo right on top of the plan as well. CUB might have played just preventative enough, but they got on site and it made it look a little messy, but Nismo's still up top. They aren't checking for him. There's no time. Sad completely walled away. And it doesn't matter that the fight is sloppily taken. It matters that it was taken too late. Now CUB have 8 opportunities to take this match in tow, and they don't even necessarily have the guns to do it this round.
No, they really don't. And wow, I mean, just for that to get timed out there. First of all, yeah, just misses the corner of the hair. So Redux is able to get that one for free, and it's just disruption. This utility kit is perfect from CUB Academy to make sure that it's just such a weird fight that you have to take, and Sad just simply didn't have the seconds left in their clock to make sure that they could get the spike down and even take that play. It's such a hard round to lose like that, but one that they really have to bounce back from. 8 rounds now. That's what separates them from forcing this overtime, and they gotta do something because otherwise this match is pretty much over if they can't find any more rounds.
And you already see them having to get ahead of it. You saw Redux trying to stall early. Once the clock becomes your enemy one round, it becomes your enemy the rest of the game. Sad, amping it up, using that Cosmic Divide aggressively and getting onto site the same format. They'll get this spike down very quickly. No chance for an early flank either. This time the Sheer is on that back door, but there are 2 strong, and the Cosmic Divide just shroud their noise, so they'll be a little more ready for this than Sad, but just a little. Fault line out, it doesn't cover Dip, and he is completely unchecked. Now an Aftershock to try to get him out, but this fight is still so tough to take here from the Lurk side. CUB really giving it their all, despite the fact that this is such a heavy save round. And they'll head on in, try to make this work, try to make this impactful, and that's a good start. Verbsa falling center stage. And now it's Qbert that try to exact Benji the back angle, but still solo health. It's the flank that has little connection. The rest of SAD locks it down, and time now on their side, giving SAD the round, but so much damage done by Qbert in the process. That's all they were there for, and that's what they'll get.
And I like the idea of how SAD decided to go for the plant there, where they set themselves up and everything, especially too once the Sheer gives the information about the flankers. They do an excellent job at keeping them at bay. And you can tell, the Qbert Academy, they're waiting for a go sign. They feel stuck onto the site. They're waiting for some of this utility to disappear, but it's just so difficult for them to be able to do so. SAD also keeping 2 members actually onto the site as well prevents any of the flood in that Qbert are expecting amongst all that utility that is placed in front of them. So just an excellent post-plant positioning and just game done by SAD Esports. Redux, though, has potential to find an early pick here. It's going to be the Owl drone that comes out first to try and flush Redux out, but already taking the angle back, but unsure whether or not where they are. So Redux has no choice but to back up.
Oh, Ferbs, a great angle on top of the smoke to catch Redux before he can swing to him. And now it's a risk to even try picking up that operator again. Still this lurk as well from Benji in mid that Qbert is no doubt aware of, or at least privy to the idea of. SAD, no knowledge of how much Vice util is still on this B lane as well as how much presence could be there. Now the swing into the lurk. Benji is still good for 1, but Qbert will have enough time to head on back and prepare for this next default. SAD fully rotating over to A side here.
It's going to be a little tough. There's a lot of utility just kind of scattered here, as well as T-Dog. Those Razor Vines, if they get activated, really slow things down. They're like more annoying than Sage Slow Orbs, and there it is, the engagement underway.
First attempt here from SAD to get on the Razor Vines will limit their activity, but they're still able to get inside the pocket, and T-Dog has already given away his position quite early here, so we'll have to just straight up util dump. We'll try to spray onto Zerona as well, does a good job of it, but now the Steel Garden is what carries the rest of Qbert's counter push, and it should do the rest of the job. SAD Esports are gonna put everything on the table here for this push, and Dip does a great amount of work, hello? That's 3 from the Sova that saves SAD from absolute destruction. While they did a lot, it really seemed like Qbert had that push in the bag. Great work there from Dip to keep them stable.
You see them. It's like SAD Esports are on the side and they're like, I mean, we've got our pistols. Let's run out there and try to find some kills, question mark. But you see just enough utility to slow down Qbert Academy from really just sweeping the floor with them. Also, too, just the timing of it working out, that Dip is able to pull that rifle back into hand, and then it's actually Qbert Academy who are the ones that are all over the site, like looking for an opportunity to try and frag out. And then at that point, it's just Dip keeping his head on a swivel, making sure that they can find the picks necessary to shut Qbert down. And the fact, too, that they get the res onto Zerona, carries another rifle forwards. SAD Esports, they're slowly pulling their way back into this one. We're seeing another save from Qbert Academy. 2 ultimates are online. The knives already pulled from Redux, but they need to start finding some of those kills to really be able to swing this back around, because, you know, this is starting to look a little bit more dicier than that situation where we were sitting at 11-1, Tenrek.
Certainly the tides have shifted, but still such a fragile tower that SAD Esports continues to be one piece gone, and it's curtains for the match. Zerona posted up on site for Qbert's entryway, an updraft from Redux to scout, but it won't do much more than give SAD an excuse to start praying and spraying. Knight's entryway from the back, Redux picks up one in art as well, and Qbert continue to make even these eco rounds nightmarishly difficult to hold on to economy for. But they'll double back, they'll try again to re-up on the 1v2 against Dip, and Knights is just so lit up right now. Perfect time to be. Tuzi will try to get ahead of the button. With 18 seconds to go, he still has Spike in hand and can't finalize until the site's been totally cleared. There's 10 seconds on the clock, and everybody's gone. Qbert's re-navigated over to Art at this point. This is so beautifully woven, and they're able to rush right onto this as the pressure subsides. Redux, the perfectly timed shot. And there is that instability, the one round of it that Qbert needed to supersede and make that Pearl scoreboard look as good as they wanted it to last time they played on it. A fundamental difference leads Qbert Academy to a 2-0 record now in the Swiss.
Oh my goodness. I mean, Qbert Academy, Pearl is their playground. specifically on the attacking side. We were actually genuinely seeing SAD start to pull themselves back, but it just leads up to a round where, you know, at this point, Cuber, they've gotten so many rounds that they don't really need to be as careful about how their playstyle was going. We saw a certain level of confidence coming in from the attack where they're like, yeah, we can just kind of go in there. We can have a little bit of fun. And immediately the story completely changes around when they go onto their defense. It's a lot more disciplined, a lot more just being careful. And SAD were doing a good job at running over them when that happened. So, you know, if you are CUB Academy, yes, you do walk away with this win. You're feeling probably pretty good about yourself given the map scoreline, but there is still a lot to look on for Pearl and tightening up some of that defense because you know, you lose 5 rounds and then you just get 1. I mean, sure, you got enough on the attacking half to do that, but that's never really how you want these games to go.
Still much higher as to ascend indeed for both of these teams for that matter. But yeah, clean as a whistle, not just finding the fun, finding the power in those compositions and plans going forward. We're excited to see where CUB Academy goes from here, but they're going to the 2-0 matches that'll take place next week. That'll be all we see of them. We got one more match here, but we'll get to talk to our fun little front desk before we go to that. We'll take a quick break in between us and them though. We'll be right back.
I feel like in open tournaments, even teams that are, you know, more inexperienced and haven't been together as long are all like clawing to be the best team and to win. I feel like the energy is like everybody's trying to be the absolute best. So that is something I feel is a little bit different than Game Changers because there isn't a lot of Game Changers teams at the moment. So it's hard to field that kind of competitive environment when there's just so few teams right now. So playing in open tournaments, I feel like we kind of get that sort of push for us to be even more competitive and for us to try even harder against these teams who are also trying just as hard. I feel like this is not a diss to Floor because obviously Floor is just the best Game Changers player to exist. But I feel like we're more well-rounded as a team because it's not solely focused on setting up Floor now, where it's more so everyone on the team has an opportunity to pop off. Obviously Karn is insane and she's still a pop-off duelist for sure. But I think it made everybody else think, okay, I need to step up and I need to be able to, you know, frag out a bit more to fill Floor's shoes essentially. To be in Challengers, it feels like my entire career and my team's entire career, I've kind of led up to this. It feels like this is always what we've been working towards. So honestly, at first it was a little anticlimactic because it was like, oh, well, we did it. Now what? So to be able to compete in these matches and play against better competition, it's honestly really fun more than anything, but also it is like a breath of fresh air to be able to play against new players and new teams and all that. Honestly, my only expectation for us is for us to do our best, and if we do that, then I'm happy, to be honest. I'm not going to set a super high goal or expectation. I just want us to do our best, to be honest.
Headshot. Defeated.
All right, well, we got to see a Pearl last week from CUB Academy that definitely had to go the distance, but today they started off hot and they're going to be ending strong. 2-0 victory this week, Roy, for CUB Academy. I mean, the hype there, it's real. In CUB Esports, I definitely think they put up a good fight. It just wasn't enough this time around.
Yeah, I really felt like there was some signs of life for Sad, but I mean, ultimately, there just weren't enough rounds in the first half to really give them a solid chance going into the second one. Obviously, CUB Academy doing a very, very good job on their attack side. They looked just so oppressive, and there were just so many layers to their executes and their post plans and the way they were approaching map control, as you can kind of see the way they're defending on the screen. But overall, yeah, I think CUB Academy just looked really improved from the week before.
Once we had the side swap, I know there was a couple of rounds where SAT Esports really, once they started showing the most life, it was like, oh, wait a second, are we going to see a little switcheroo here, Dan? But ultimately, CUB in the end would be able to close it out.
Yeah, they were able to do so, and yeah, struggled a little bit. There was just 4 rounds, and that second half that we were like, wait, no, right? Like, surely that's not happening. Surely they're not gonna get any more. But it takes a Thrifty to close it out instead of CUB Academy. And a big highlight as well from Nismo. Nismo is one of those players that we talked about early on. He is well known for playing this KO for maybe being his most comfortable agent. He's been playing it. I mean, we saw it a bunch last year when he was part of M80, and now we continue to see it with this pop flashes, with the way that they were trying to take that control. It was Nismo that ended up 4-0 first kill. So I mean, that speaks for itself.
I mean, even just the overall, Qbert was such a strong attacking end to get the heads up on the first kills, 15, and Nismo like getting 4 of those. It's brutal for SAT Esports, brutal for SAT Esports fan. For Qbert, definitely have to be feeling good about that one. And if you're going to talk about those 4 first kills and what they're able to accomplish, well then, Roy, you got to talk about Knights as well. This is one of those people that was heavily praised coming onto this team, has gotten a lot of praise in the past, and he was able to step up huge in this map.
Yeah, I feel like we were saying this before as well. Is he's the type of player that within this team dynamic, he's so easy to overlook just because of the amount of obviously like when you have Nismo, you have Redux, you have Scuba, you have all these talented players, so it's kind of easy to overlook him. But he ended the map insanely well, and even on the first map he played pretty well as well. So I mean, Nice is just a demon overall.
I mean, oh man, you're saying like this kid gets overlooked, especially when we're talking about it, and then I hate to prove you right after, because the next thing we're going to be talking about is we're going to talk about the duelist again, going back to Redux. So definitely want to give praise and props to Knights, but Redux is someone who you've been talking about and highlighting throughout the series, and of course, Dan, we have to be kind of wrapping up the series the same way. This is his team. He's the captain, and he's been able to show up where it's needed.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing exactly what he needs to do, whereas, playing that duelist role very well, very clean, having a clear understanding of how the team around him is going to work, whether it's him trying to help out everybody else to kind of wake up and come back from it, as we saw on that map 1 with that ace, or it might just be doing the same thing, playing a standard game and doing it constantly. We talked about it. This player, he is the star of this team of CUB Academy, and it's for a reason. A player that is really, really consistent, a player that it might not always have the most flashy plays, but again, when he does, it looks amazing. And if that doesn't happen, it's okay. Everybody else has his back.
Yeah, it's not just one talented person on this team. We got 5 very talented players, so seeing them come together, this is definitely a fun match. And now we have none other than captain of the team, Redux, on the line for our post-match interview. Redux, first off, hello, congrats on the win. How are you feeling?
Thank you. Feeling good, feeling confident. I think we are actually settling like really well into our roles, and we're working really well as a team.
I'm glad to hear. I loved hearing your thought process of the team being put together and why you picked for each player. But I want to know then too, when you put this roster together, if you had an overall vision of how you wanted the team to operate, or if it was just I just want 4 cracked players with potential and we'll work it out from there.
Okay, so I did put a lot of thought into the roster, because first of all, I think we'll start with Knights. Knights is like, we need someone on the up and come up, and Knights is that player, right? Then we also have an IGL T-Dog goes to T-Dog. Then we have someone who's not particularly always making like plays, but like throwing really good util and always following like the game strat, so Nismo. And then we have our clutch player, Scuba.
I mean, making sure you got everyone for every situation, like it's working out well.
Yeah, they're great, honestly. Like we're doing like really well right now. Hopefully we maintain this curve upward.
I mean, this This is a really interesting team in the fact that with it being an academy team, it's kind of a different end goal. We're not necessarily looking at ascension, which has been different than the path that you've looked for with your own team Oxygen in the past, but instead for these players to all showcase themselves and be picked up hopefully at some point. So, do you feel any more amount of pressure going into matches knowing that the showcases can make or break careers, or is it a little less because you're not looking at ascension at the end of the line like every other team?
Well, for me personally, I don't really feel like any pressure at all, and I doubt like any of my other teammates like feel like that much pressure. Like obviously you'll always have like some nerves going into a match, but it's how you deal with those nerves and channel it, which is what matters. But pressure wise, like I don't think anyone is really feeling the pressure. Even on Fracture, when we had like 10 like tech pauses and like we had like a rough start, like literally everyone was just laughing the whole time. Like it was ridiculous. Like everyone was always in a good mood, which is good. It's very important.
I'm glad to hear the vibes are good over there. That's a good stuff. And I want to actually talk about the start on Fracture as well as the start on Pearl last week. So we've gotten to see two series where Cubert Academy, maybe a little slow to start. Is the team just need a little bit of time in the server, or is it just kind of a growing pain of this roster coming together?
We're definitely slow starters for sure. We definitely like need to wake up in the first, like we need to be awake in the first 6 rounds, or else like that half is gonna be pretty chalked. So I think that's just like that's probably I guess like our worst thing, or like worst part of our team is that we're slow starters. But Coach Mike will get on that for sure.
How has that been as well? Like we've talked about all the different players and what they bring to the team, but of course now after to this coaching arc, how has that been being able to work with them?
It's actually been like really good. Like I knew Mike was like he could be a good coach. I think, or I thought earlier it would take more time for him to get settled into the coach role. But honestly, like he has good work ethic. He's good. He has a smart mind for the game. He literally won an international, so nobody can deny that. And I mean, he's been putting in work, water viewing, doing all the good stuff a coach needs to do. He's also been super like confrontational. Like we're a team that like if we need to criticize each other, we will. But obviously, it's all love, and we're all doing it out of love. So I think Mike has actually been a very good coach, and I'm proud of him.
Definitely glad to hear that. Redux, it was great watching you guys play. I know there was tech pauses, so it'd be nice for everyone to go on with their evening. So I'll let you go. Thank you for your time. Have a good night, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. As for us, hey, it was still a fun game, even if there was tech pauses galore. And we do have another one lined up. It's going to be Core going up against Shopify Rebellion Black after a short break.